Someone catches your eye and there's a bit of chemistry.
And then what happens?
You get off the bus together and go to one of your flats or a toilet or a bush. I admire the people who do it in airports because you've got to like navigate. Are you going in through bag check or out?
Married straight guys probably as well.
Big time. Big
Probably
time.
the majority.
Fear is real. Like, you know, are they going to batter me? Cruising will always exist when there's nature. I have to look at cruising in the context of where we're allowed to breathe.
This argument that homosexuality is now legal, therefore you do not need to, in public spaces, go and do it at home. What do you think about that thought?
I think
Dan Glass is a cool name.
Oh, thank you.
You must have heard that before.
Not so much.
Really?
Tell me more.
So I just think it's a cool name. I've never heard the last name Glass before.
Originally, my heritage, it was Glasovich. It was very much more Jewish, but was anglicised during the war.
Oh, okay. And what sort of play on words have you heard in your lifetime at school, or did you get any...
Dan Glass with a shiny ass.
Did you ever hear of glassass.com?
No, what is that,
Google
babe?
it when you get home.
I'm intrigued.
It's do you not remember when the internet first started and there were these websites that were just horrible videos? That was literally it. You went on penisland.com. Do you remember that? And it was penisland.com and it was, or lemonparty.com. Have you ever heard of these?
No, babes, you've intrigued me.
Glassass.com was just, you just logged on and there was a huge man with a jar and he sat on it and the jar smashed in his
Oh my
ass.
days, I remember that.
Do you remember?
I remember that. Oh, what's happened to his butt now?
God knows. That was years ago, so maybe he's not with us anymore.
Oh, I remember that.
I was looking at your various online presences,
Yeah.
and it sounds like you do quite a bit. It said on one of the sites that you're London's unofficial queer mayor.
Oh, that was from my friend Peter Staley from Act Up New York, which is very sweet.
And are you self-described a cruiser, bruiser, bad Jew, level 7 activist?
I might be level 8 by now.
Okay.
Maybe. I am, what was him again? Cruiser?
Well, is this your website? It says cruiser, bruiser, bad Jew.
Bad Jew, yeah. All of them.
Level
all of
7
them.
activist.
With bells on. My mate Rob always used to call me a level 7 activist. Because we can always try harder. I am a cruiser, which we'll talk more about. Don't get enough time to do it personally. As we are talking about it, I wish there was 10 more days in a week so I could actually do it rather than talk about it.
Well, we're going to get into cruising.
Yeah.
That's going to be the majority of this conversation. I know that you've got such a full life that we could go into, but unfortunately we've only got an hour or so. But maybe we'll get you back and we'll do a more intimate
Happy to,
Dan
babe.
Glass.
Yeah.
I was going to say Dan Glass ass or whatever it was called. But
We can't. Oh, I don't want to stick a glass
we're not
up my
doing
arse.
that. We're not doing that.
I'm thinking of that guy.
So let's get into cruising. So most people listening to this have never done it, because I think that to go cruising, I imagine, is on the more adventurous side for people when it comes to sexual experiences. It's a culture and a world that I'm very interested in, and it's also such a thing that people talk about in the gay community. Because you do cruise and you obviously know lots of people who also do. How popular is cruising, do you think? Do you think I'm underestimating how many gay men are doing this in London? This interview and mini-doc special is sponsored by Sniffies. If you know this show, you'll know that we talk a lot about sex and intimacy and relationships and connection. And for anyone interested in cruising and sexual exploration, Sniffies is a great way to do it. Sniffies is a real-time map-based hookup platform that's completely redefining how guys connect. It's the only web app with explicit profile photos. When you make an account, you can use code ALLOUT and get a week of Sniffies Plus totally free. So if you also want to try new things, sexually explore, and perhaps give cruising a try, Sniffies is for you. Use code ALLOUT when you create an account for an entire week free of Sniffies Plus. Go and see what the hype's all about and sign up now at sniffies.com. I think I'm underestimating how many gay men are doing this in London.
Yeah.
Do you think?
Yeah, because...
Or not even gay men. I mean, God, there's bloody...
Not just gay men.
Loads
Everyone.
of married straight guys probably as well.
Big time. Big
Probably
time.
the majority.
For me, cruising is a portal to wider issues of power and space and control. I have to look at cruising in the context of where we're allowed to breathe. And when I say breathe, that means literally being able to exist for who we are on our own terms, not as some like entertainment project or some statistic, but who we want to be on our own terms. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I'm trying to unpack that because I'm trying to think of the opposite, which would be who is living life on their own terms.
Well, if we're looking at like who society is made up for, like heteronormative culture, I am so blessed to have so many straight allies. Without straight allies, I wouldn't be alive. When it comes to queer liberation and the AIDS genocide, allies are essential. But society is made up for heterosexual people.
Yeah.
If we're looking at statistics, I reread it this morning, I think it's still 64 countries in the world which criminalise homosexuality. I think it's 41 in the Commonwealth. So, zooming out, who goes cruising? People who don't have access to be able to be who they are on their own terms. Queer migrants, for example. It's anyone who doesn't have access to dominator culture. Cruising is for anyone who doesn't fit into the narrow confines of the small but very important spaces that we have.
Yeah.
Cruising's literally accessibility, which means freedom.
Can we talk about the definition of cruising?
Yes.
So I think it gets misunderstood because I thought of, before researching all of this, I thought cruising was meeting outside and hooking up with each other with anonymity, so random people. But I'm realizing that it's a lot more than that, right? So if you could basically give us a definition of what cruising actually is.
Yeah. So there's cruising and there's cottaging. It's not, and the laws are changing so rapidly. It's not illegal to cruise unless anyone's offended. Cottaging, like you look at Soho Square Cottage, is a old school cottage, or if you look at like Liverpool Street Station toilets, it's inside. It could be seen as a cottaging spot. Cruising, the more kind of iconic spaces are like Russell Square used to be a big cruising spot before it became more privatized and the bushes were cut down and the lights were put on. Basically every park in London has been or still is a cruising ground. Abney Park, for example.
Yeah.
Hampstead Heath. So cruising is very stigmatized and very demonized, just like any marginalized culture is in terms of race or class or transphobia. But it's a deeply beautiful and liberatory act because you are checking each other out, and it's not monetized, and it's genuine. For me, there's something really genuinely connective about cruising on a equitable level, which isn't about money, which isn't about control, which isn't about how big your dick is. There's also something deeply spiritual about it. If we're looking at nature, it's about how we're held in a space which again isn't about control and being in a relatively small, controlled, monetized space when we've got nature which isn't discriminatory, which isn't about you have to look like this, you have to earn this money to get in the door. It's free. But nature doesn't give a fuck what gender you are or how much money you have or what you look like. It holds us to be able to be sexual, to be attractive on our own terms. There's something very witchy and very beautiful about that.
In terms of the places cruising can happen, so we've spoken a lot about outside, but my understanding is that if you hook up with someone in an airport toilet...
Oh yeah, that's still cruising.
So can you give me some different locations where cruising takes place but it's still considered cruising?
I admire the people who do it in airports because you've got to like navigate, you going in through bag check or out, and like it's amazing how you navigate all of that. I mean, my mate works in Portcullis House where there's a tunnel, I believe, straight into the House of Commons, and like there's no class barrier to cruising. Like the rich and the elite and the people who instigate homophobic and transphobic policies are fucking each other in the toilets just like the rest of us. Is basically wherever there's access to toilets or spaces which can protect you from viewers. So airport toilets to the toilets of Parliament to train station toilets. To one of my favourite places is, because see I've got the Thames tattooed on my arm, is Wapping. You go underneath the beach.
Yeah.
Where underneath the beams, where at the Thames.
Yeah.
It's really beautiful. It's romantic. To British Library 3rd floor toilets, to basically every library. Everywhere there's a toilet.
How often do you cruise?
How often do I cruise? Well, cruising, as in, on an average, not enough. Like, I don't know, on an average, I don't know, once a month. For me, I'd love to do it every week, but it's about time. So one thing that our community have had to do to survive, as well as fuck and have fun at the same time, and I do this when I'm reading the queer crime quiz at the end of Queer Tours. So I split the group up in two, and it's a quiz, and I have a picture of Tom Cruise and a picture of a cottage cheese pot. So one of them is cottaging team and one of them is cruising team. Okay. And I read a list of questions about queer crime. For example, what happened in 1972, the first radical gay pride? And then after like 20 questions, my last question is, why am I standing in a bag? I'm literally standing in a IKEA bag. And everyone, I don't know why you're standing in a bag. And because one of our survival techniques under the cubicles to stop the police from seeing you, can you see where I'm going to? One of you, as you're getting off with each other, sucking each other off or fucking, one of you standing in a bag. So that when the police or the undercover police, like in Outside to George Michael, they can only see one person. So who knew that like Sainsbury's bag were a key kind of tool to our freedom? I think that's genius. One of my favourite things.
That's really interesting. The different types of cruising. So for someone that's never gone cruising before, I've kind of broken it down into 3 categories, which I imagine is how this runs down, but you can tell me. So there's organised cruising. A website like Sniffies is you can actually find people and then meet up and get on with it. You've got going to a cruising hotspot, so some of the places that you've mentioned where you go knowing that that's where cruising takes place and that you hook up with people. And then the third one I imagine is random encounters, which I'm very interested in because it's never happened to me. Even I hear stories where people are on tubes.
I'm sure you've been cruised on the bus, babe.
But I don't know when if and when it's happening. You know, the double
Someone
take.
catches your eye. Someone catches your eye, and there's a bit of chemistry.
And then what happens?
You get off the bus together and go to one of your flats, or a toilet, or a bush.
Okay, well, I'm going to start with that one then because we're talking about it. So this is one that I find probably the most erotic.
Yeah.
Something that I would like to happen because there's so much fear in this for me.
Yeah.
That this person's straight, for one. I don't know if this person's looking at me in the same way I'm looking at them. And I don't know what they want or how this is going to run down. So that will 100% eliminate any chance of me actually acting on this momentary flirtation. Yeah. So tell me how this could happen because I have heard stories and I'm like, I can't believe that you hooked up with a guy you met in Sainsbury's.
Yeah.
That's, for me, really exciting. But how does this work?
You're very right about the fear and the questioning. Fear is real. Like, you know, are they going to batter me, basically? So how do you navigate that? Asking him. Say.
Isn't that the opposite of cruising, though? It's the communicating is the sexiness and the allure is based on the lack of communication. Is that right?
No, I don't think it's as clear cut as that.
No.
If you have a fear and it's stopping you from having a fun time, I think it's completely fine to be like, listen, mate, just before we get off the bus, I just want to check that this is a genuine thing because I think you're really hot and I love to fuck, but I don't want you to also batter me. That's fine. That's real. Who cares? What are they going to do? no, I'm actually a homophobe and I'm out to batter you, and be like, right, I'm staying on the bus then.
Okay.
I think that's fine.
But do you think it takes two people that are the same mindset for this to work? It must be quite rare that this happens.
Again, this relates to what we were saying, like cruising is a portal to space and power and control. Like, if there was, I think in Amsterdam someone was telling me the other night, there's actually regulated public cruising spots where you know that you're not going to get near, like you can't never be sure, but you know that it's a cruising safe space.
Yeah.
Like Unicorn Gardens, like This Is My Culture Party. If we had more community administrated or public cruising safe spaces, we wouldn't have to worry about the person on the bus is going to batter us.
Yeah.
But we shouldn't stop, and we should and be just be real and say to them, like, listen, I think you're really cute.
Well, I had this yesterday with, like, actually, it's funny this happened yesterday. I had this on the tube yesterday where this guy sat opposite me and he was very attractive, and there was just like this thick energy between us.
Great.
Where he was on his phone and I was looking down, and we kept like looking at each other like this a bit, and it was like, you just know we're checking each other out, and there's like an attraction happening here.
Which stop were you at?
It was going from White City to Bond Street.
Great, plenty of nice. Go to Hyde Park. Yeah.
So
because often it's like if you're at Euston, the Euston toilets aren't that great.
But you think that if I was to push that interaction for me to get to know this person on a sexual level, how could I have moved that clear attraction forward?
I mean, for me, it's, again, here we go, coming from a understanding that life's really fucking short. Life's really short. I would say to him, I mean, you could just write your number down, old school, like Amelie, the film. You could write your number down and give it to him, or you could say to him, I'm literally thinking of the mathematics between White City and which stop?
Bond Street.
Bond Street. That's
so,
what, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say to him, you're really cute.
This is a busy tube.
Busy tube. You could write it. You could nudge him and say, I think you're really cute. This is my number. Or, if you've got time, why don't we go outside now? What's to lose? Like, if he says no, he says no. But at least you've lived by your own convictions.
Yeah, and my ultimate fear is that he goes, I'm straight. You need to fuck off.
Sure. Well, I mean, you've still lived by your convictions.
Yeah.
His loss.
Yeah.
His loss. And whoever's... And anyway, sexuality and gender's a spectrum. Some people are straight now and there might not be another time.
Mm.
But I think anyone would be lucky to be asked, and if they say no, they say no.
Yeah, because I've been given notes before in cafes saying, my friend thinks you're gorgeous.
Yeah.
And there's the number, and I turned around, it's like a girl sat there, and I take
lovely.
it very nicely. I think, that's really cute. And then I turn to her and I'm like, hey.
Yeah,
like,
and what'd you say to her? That's really nice.
Yeah, but that was very sweet. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I've got a boyfriend, is what I would say, or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're a nice person, if you've got integrity and a good heart, that person on the tube, they might be like, I'm really straight, but I'm really flattered.
Yeah.
There's no, like, just life's too short, just say it.
Nice, I like that. So the other two, the going to a cruising spot that you told me about, I want to know more about how this works for people that have never done it before. So say, for instance, I want to go cruising tonight. I'm going to Hampstead Heath because I'm aware that that's probably the most famous cruising spot in the whole of the UK. I walk to a specific part that I've Googled that is the cruising area. I walk in, and then what happens? So to someone who's never done this before, what typically, how does that interaction happen?
Yeah. Also, like, there was cruising before Google. It's about instinct. It's about holding that fear and that risk and that, and the, who knows where this is going to lead, the suspense together. I mean, it's like, the more we talk about things, it's about literacy. It's about literal reclamation. Because, again, looking at Section 28, a culture of silence means there's everything's shrouded in stigma, right? So there's no harm in saying to your mate, I'm going to go cruising tonight in Hampstead. I'm a bit nervous. I just want you to know what I'm doing. I'm like, also, it's a bit of a kink. I might who knows? I might have great sex. I might just have a nice time underneath the moonlight. Tell your mate. Because it's always good. Building community and understanding and challenging stigma just in our very openness is good. I mean, that's why, like, George Michael on a mega level, on a stratospheric level, helped so many of us be unapologetic about our inquisitiveness, about queer culture and sex and so many other things, as well as being an amazing musician. So tell your mate, go with a friend. And when you get to Hampstead, so obviously, like, you know, you come up from Hampstead Station, Jack Straw's Castle was a pub, now I think it's some fancy gym. You go around and basically you're looking for the fuck tree. Who knew I'm wearing a t-shirt saying take me to the fuck tree, which I can explain as well. The fuck tree is a tree which is really good for fucking on because you can lean over it.
It's a big tree.
It's a big tree. But there's also lots of other great trees in Hampstead Heath. But it depends if you're a bottom or a top or whatever. It's very nice, easy to lean over, and then you get fucked over it. Or on it. Or under it. So many options.
Is it one at a time, or is this fuck tree?
No, often there's plenty of people there.
It accommodates many people.
Yeah. And actually, it's like Hampstead Heath, sometimes it's like a lot of people, like hundreds.
Is there a particular day or time of year that it...
What did George say?
Together?
Whenever it's warm enough to do it, I'll bloody do it. I mean, in the summer, there could be like hundreds of people there. It's beautiful. It's really beautiful. But this is like something which the Daily Mail scandal recently, horrified dog walkers, distraught dog walkers, furious gay cruisers, start culture wars or some bullshit. And actually I got a message from a Hampstead Dog Walker Society being like, listen, there's no beef. This is the Daily Mail doing what the Daily Mail do.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of people. There can be a lot of people. So you go and you'll spot people who are just walking around and giving you the glance. And then if you find someone that you find attractive, you can be like, let's go this way.
What's the signal for that? You don't actually say in front of everyone, let's go over here. You'd go like this with your thumb, or
I mean, you can say, you can be like, you can give people the eye, or you might want to say, hey, want to go this way? Or you could be like, have you got a lighter? And then that's classic, just chat outside.
And can you interrupt a session already on the fuck tree?
Great question. Can you interrupt a session on the fuck tree?
Like, can I join in on this?
Well, yeah. I mean, as long as it's consensual. Yeah.
Okay.
As long as it's consensual. I mean, sometimes you don't need words because there's like consent by your sexual chemistry and your physical chemistry. But sometimes you're very British and be like, hello.
Yeah, the British, I imagine, are very polite when it comes to cruising.
Yeah, I think it's, sometimes you can tell with your sexual chemistry, sensualities are different.
How does one know what the other person is going to be up for? If you don't want to have anal sex, and you just want to get a blowjob, do you tell them in the moment, or do you just let things flow, typically? I
mean, what do you say in the bedroom?
Well, I guess you would maybe have spoken to them before about sexual desire, potentially. And then also, I think you might feel a bit more comfortable because you know the person about articulating it, whereas in the moment I feel like it might be a bit more awkward. So what would you say that is very communicative?
You can be, yeah. You can be like, I mean, if that's what you're up for at home in the bedroom, if you're not into penetration, like the other day with my boyfriend, I was not, and I didn't need to. Well, actually, no, I did say I was like, I don't want to get fucked today, and you can also say that when you're out cruising, you'd be like, I'm really just into blowjobs today, or sucking each other off, or kissing, or having a chat, or full-blown penetration with 10 guys. Just saying that. Yeah. Being articulate with it and seeing where that goes.
And one thing I think is...
But just honouring your own boundaries and your desires is a good thing.
Well, this is what I was about to say, is that how do you say no? Either you don't find someone attractive that's coming on to you. The rejection part to me freaks me out. Because if someone comes up to me, is very clearly into me, maybe shows that they're hard or something, I would then feel very pressured to go ahead with it, even if I wanted to
Don't do that.
So what, is there much offence taken in the cruising community? Or do people get that's part of the game?
Such a good question, babe. Because of Section 28, because of institutional homophobia from the last centuries, we're starting, in the grand scheme of things, from square one when it comes to being very eloquent and confident about our boundaries and our needs. I don't know we've all got a lot of trauma and attachment issues and avoidance and rejection issues to deal with. So if there was someone you didn't fancy, I would just say, I mean, no disrespect, but I'm not into it. Enjoy. I'm going to do my own thing. I think that's fine. Are
you good at doing that?
You've grown to be better at it.
Okay. But have you found yourself going along with things that you didn't want to in the past because you were... Yeah.
So you have to learn to be clear as well as compassionate.
With cruising, you might assume that there's a level of exhibitionism that people enjoy, but also there's privacy and being discreet. Is there an element of it where the people that do it get off on other people seeing them, or would you say no?
Yeah, I think. Like,
I mean people that aren't cruising as well. So the dog walkers, the members of the public, they get off on the thought of people seeing this. I don't mean just other cruisers watching, because that's obviously all part of it. But I mean the general public. Is it part of the excitement, do you think?
I wouldn't say so. Like, basically, just like, I mean, of course, there's joy in exhibitionism and public sex. But we've got it's delicate territory, because just how like gay people have been conflated with paedophiles since the dawn of time by the establishment. I wouldn't say, I've never met anyone who's like, I have a kink of having sex in front of a family with kids. I don't know anyone who's like, I get off on having public sex in front of kids. That would be an alarm bell for me. But I do know people, there's a lot of joy in having outdoor sex, and there's cruising grounds, like whether you're talking about Ibiza or what's it called, Gran Canaria, and some great cruising spots in the beaches, in the dunes.
Do you think that people typically want to get to know each other if they've cruised each other? Do you think afterwards there's an exchange of numbers, there's a walk after, or do you think it's very much job done, see you later?
Bit of both. I think a bit of both. Sometimes there's necessity in the anonymity. Sometimes you don't also want to, like, for me, I really like the fact that I don't want to make, I've got enough friends. I love my friends. I don't want to make any more friends. I want to have really hot sex. And there's some, that sounds really brutal. But I don't always want to be like, right, let's go to the movies. No, I want to have really sex and I want to get back to my life. But some people, they do really want to make friends, and it's about social space and meeting new people
and partners.
Of course.
That'd be one for the wedding story, wouldn't it?
Of course. I mean, it's so many. It's not rare. It's really not rare. Really not rare. If you look at like what our community have had to do in the limited opportunities of space that we've had, like so many people meet cruising or on online apps. There should be no shame in any of it. But personally, I quite like that was really hot, and now we'll just go back to whatever we were doing before.
In terms of safety in cruising, so I think it would be good to just touch on the safety element of it, because sometimes it could be very late at night. We are talking about a level of anonymity
Yeah.
we are talking about being very vulnerable with people you do not know.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of trust involved with strangers. So I suppose, how does one cruise safely?
Yeah. Such a good question, babe. And this is something we're navigating. This is my culture. How do you cruise safely? Again, I think it's important, if you like, to say to a friend or a lover, "I'm gonna go cruising tonight. I'll try and be back by this time," or whatever. Knowing your limits beforehand, like being conscious about your limits, and maybe articulating that to a friend. You know, it's all about curiosity. What are you curious about? What gives you joy? What gives you wonder at what could happen? What gives you awe at how things could be? What are you sexually excited about? But also knowing when, enough's enough. But just on a very geographical level, like when you go into Hampstead Heath, just knowing how to get out. Because it could be really dark, right? You might not have a phone. Just knowing your route out. Again, this is all sounds like it's some Blair Witch project, but it's not. It doesn't have to be like that. But cruising will always exist when there's nature.
Yeah.
Because it's not about being constricted by man-made society, human society. It's about being connected with nature.
Well, that's my next point, actually, which I think is a really important one, because we've given this term cruising to what we're talking about, when actually, if you look at it, it is just two people having sex in nature,
Yeah.
which is...
happened since the dawn of time.
It's the most primal thing you could imagine.
Yeah. It's nothing new.
No.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that it's so heavily stigmatized, and there is so much shock around it in terms of the general public.
It's like, you want your rights and you want to have sex. How dare you?
It's interesting though, isn't it, that two people having sex outside on the factory is very socially unacceptable.
Yeah.
When actually that is such a raw form of human connection, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you look at it like that and don't think of it as this cruising that the Daily Mail's talking about, it's actually quite a beautiful thing.
It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. And again, it comes down to who has access to take up space in society, in every pillar of like cultural, economic understanding, whether it's the film industry or whether it's actual physical space and parks which aren't privatized by the royal family. It's like, it's being able to reclaim space for everyone to enjoy it. It's like, again, like you say, the most raw, primal way of interacting. Like in terms of public displays of affection, like when I'm not maybe doing enough work on my own bitterness, I do sometimes find myself scowling at straight people when they're kissing on the tube, because I know that I'm scared in terms of queer public displays of affection. I don't want to be like, fuck you. But I also want to be like, everyone should be able to do that without feeling scared. I still don't walk down the street with holding my boyfriend's hand a lot of the time. I love public displays of affection for everyone. So yeah, I just want everyone to be able to have access to that. If we're looking at the psychology, one of my favourite psychologists is Max Neef, who kind of conceptualized the fundamental will of human needs. He was a Chilean economist in the 60s, and basically his theory is every single human has the same needs in society. We've just got different abilities to meet them. So whether you're an 80-year-old lesbian who's battled through all forms of institutional, familial, cultural homophobia in London, or whether you're a Bangladeshi farmer, we all have the same needs for food, water, shelter, security on a primary level, and then affirmation, understanding, identity, protection, transcendence, love. but we have different abilities to meet them, to meet those needs, because of structural injustice and marginalisation and all forms of inequality. So when we understand that we're all actually the same, we just have different ways to meet those needs, it helps us empathise.
That was very interesting.
Max Neef is brilliant.
The way you articulated it as well was very good.
Thank you.
He'd be happy with how he just
Thank you.
said that message.
Yeah.
Let's talk about sex outside. It feels different, doesn't it? Having sex outside. I have had sex outside before with a boyfriend. It wasn't cruising, it was just having sex outside, and it feels different. Do you agree?
Feels as in...
There's something very erotic about having sex outside
Yeah.
compared to inside.
Yeah.
Being naked outside
Yeah.
in the grass
Yeah.
and having sex, it feels
It's liberating.
great, right?
Yeah.
And
I mean, I thought you meant on a very, like, don't forget your lube. Also, don't forget your lube.
just more like you're touching the earth and you're having
Yes.
sex outside and you're
Yeah,
feeling wind. That's a big one. The wind feeling.
Yeah.
It's a great feeling.
I mean, I've spent a lot of time in Berlin. Germans, they're much more comfortable with being naked. In fact, in a lot of places, you're not allowed to wear swimming trunks in public saunas, for example, or people just don't out around lakes in general. So we're born naked. It should be something that we can be much more comfortable with. I think it's quite a British thing.
Oh, British people are very
Yeah.
non-naked.
Yeah.
My friends from Amsterdam find it astounding that I've never seen my best friend naked.
Yeah.
Or I've never seen my sibling naked, which to me feels horrendous to think about. But
Yeah.
they're like, what? You've
Yeah,
never
yeah.
seen your best friends naked?
Yeah, there's a lot of prudishness and a lot of sexual repression.
Yeah.
And when you have any form of repression, you can't see the wood for the trees, literally, because you can't talk about, hang on, what is liberating? What is consensual? You're just
Yeah.
like, I can't talk about any of it. Do you
You
know what I mean?
I think we'd all like our bodies a lot more if we saw each other naked a lot more.
Yeah.
Because we're not just seeing the people who are uber confident or the images that are given to us.
Yeah.
It's that we're seeing normal bodies every
Yeah.
fucking day.
And it just gets normalised rather
Yeah.
than thinking this is what I should look like. I think, I understand. But yeah, if we don't normalise sexual expression, sexual freedom and joyful nakedness for everyone, we will just have a very narrow-minded perspective of what we should look like and what we should feel like. And that's when it becomes dangerous.
I want to talk about the resistance that cruising has faced. We mentioned a Daily Mail article earlier, but there is lots of non-publicised criticism around it. If you speak to loads of people in the country, they'll be like, it's disgusting, shouldn't happen. So I saw on your Instagram that there was a sign up in Hampstead Heath saying homosexuality is now legal and get a room.
Yeah.
So this argument that homosexuality is now legal, therefore you do not need to fuck in public spaces, go and do it at home. What do you think about that thought?
I think that person who put them posters up might have been gay themselves or queer themselves. But it's the whole consciousness of, if we're looking at psychology of freedom, Paulo Freire is one of my biggest inspirations, which basically unpacks the relationship between the oppressed and the oppressor. And if the oppressed can easily step into the shoes of the oppressor, or become the ventriloquist of power if they don't consciously work on themselves. So we all know that there's people in the LGBTQI community who aren't in solidarity with our whole community because they're like, well, I'm fine, fuck everyone else. No, like, we're all interconnected, we're all interbeing. And so it's not okay for someone who's got the privilege of having legal protection to just think about themselves. So it's really dangerous perpetuating, just because the law says it's all right. Nah, for law for who? And, this is why we've got to say partial decriminalisation of what happened in 1967, the Sexual Offences Act. It led to partial decriminalisation, let alone on looking at the international and national dimensions. Like, hello, who started the fucking most successful export of homophobic legislation in the world? The British did because of the Buggery Act of 1533. Henry VIII then it was exported throughout the British Empire, which led to homophobic persecution, which means people are fleeing persecution, and if they don't drown in the fucking Channel and don't get put in detention centres here, what, they're going to be persecuted by other bigots? No, thank you very much. We have to look at the root of where homophobic persecution is coming from rather than the symptom. Otherwise, we'll spend our lives looking at the symptom of everything and the root of nothing. And that's the etymology of radical is root. We have to get to the root cause of the problem. My rant is saying that that person who put up those posters isn't being compassionate enough and ultimately is only doing themselves a disservice, because that bigotry is going to boomerang back to themselves. We have to protect our whole community.
Because also what that argument ignores is that, yes, legally a lot of people have freedoms that they didn't previously have when cruising was the only way that we could hook up with each other. But culturally, there are still huge obstacles for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Whether that is your religion or where you were born, or whether you are terrified to come out, or lots of different things that would make somebody want to go cruising, right? Other than just the legal aspect of it.
And also, it's like, for me, cruising shouldn't be like last resort. It should be, as we were saying, a beautiful, celebrated, unashamed, unapologetically part of culture.
So I'm very interested in understanding the modern concept of cruising, how it's come about. So I want to talk about the laws that are around this. And I guess that you could say that cruising has come about because homosexuality was illegal. So therefore, for people to meet each other, they were doing it in public spaces in secret. Would you agree? If we're not talking about the holistic human side of just having sex outside, we're talking about the functional way of, let's say, two men wanting to fuck each other, is to do it by cruising each other. The sodomy laws that prohibited anal sex, the sodomy laws are still in force in many countries.
Many countries, yeah.
Which is crazy to think that you and me can get on a plane and within 8 hours we can't have sex with each other legally. For fear
have sex on the plane before we get off.
We'll just do that.
Yeah.
But
it's really hot. I really like it. Yeah.
Have you had sex on the plane?
I have, yeah. It was actually really hot.
In there.
Tiny little space, but you make do.
Okay. With a stranger or someone that you
with a stranger who I had the most nuts time. I actually had a really full on trip. This was years back, and I was like, I just want to go to sleep. And this outrageously hot model came and sat in this chair next to me, who was coming to London, and we got on like a house on fire.
And you went to the loo? Went to the
loos and had sex, yeah, it was great. I mean, a lot of my mates who work as cabin crew, they got stories.
So today, what is the law in the UK around cruising, having sex outside in public spaces?
Correct. And it might change. I think it's still not illegal to cruise unless someone's offended. So let's give the context of, the police come every year to This Is My Culture, and it's for me, it's like slapstick. It's like a carry-on film. It's hilarious because obviously, we're giving the police a lesson in George Michael and cruising every time they come. It's like a flip of Section 28. It's like, actually, we'll teach you of all the things that you refuse to teach. The establishment refused to let us be empowered about. And I remember the first year, there's actually a hilarious video of their faces. They turned up and my three friends were having an orgy in the bushes, but wearing like fake Diamante police hats. So it's illegal to impersonate a copper. Clearly they weren't, because they were wearing fake police outfits, and that was obvious for anyone to see. And they were having sex in public, but no one was offended.
But when you say that it's legal to have sex outside as long as nobody's offended, the offended part, surely anyone could just pluck up and go, oh yeah, I'm offended by that, and then that justifies it to be now illegal.
Yeah.
But the police themselves aren't in the place to go, I'm offended by you having sex. Is that right? Can they impose the offence themselves, or does it have to come from a member of the public, do you think? Because they could just rock up.
Good point. good point.
I
But
reckon
really,
it needs to be a third party, probably, doesn't it?
Possibly
Maybe.
needs to be a third party. But like, if the police, there's enough trials which are holding like decades long police violation of respect, let alone freedoms to exist, that pot kettle black. Do you know what I mean?
We've spoken about the beautiful side of cruising. We've spoken about the necessity for cruising and the history of cruising and why people enjoy it and why people do it. If we were to just look at people, general public, that are so out of LGBTQ world, and they just go, look, we just don't want people fucking in the bushes when I'm walking my dog. I don't want the potential of me there with my family and then two guys are sucking each other off against the fuck tree.
Yeah.
Can you see from their perspective why they might think that?
Sure, of course. Yeah, of course. However, like, it's reciprocal, right? Trying to explain to people who have very little understanding about space and power and who has access to most space and how much space is controlled by the monarchy, for example, and the enclosure of space is nothing new for the elite. So yes, I would say to that, Stogwater, of course, mate, I'm not getting off on ruining your walk with your dog, but let's try and understand where each other's coming from. As a straight person, you have access to 95% of space in Britain. Try and understand where we're coming from as well. But, turn it into a workshop. But there's ways that we need to understand where each other's coming from. Essentially, that's compassion and empathy. So I would say to that person, cool, but can you also fight for our rights?
Well, people that have every right and people that are in the majority will very rarely have the want to look at how minorities experience the world.
Yeah, that's why the rich stay rich.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess it would be very difficult to talk to that person and say, look, see where I'm coming from. They'd be like, nah, this is fucking gross. Take it away. Move it on.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It would be difficult to, I suppose, try and have that conversation with them because I don't think they'd be open to listening.
They wouldn't be, yeah. They're not always. They might be. I've met some of the most fascinating people. This is my culture. So when we're doing the setup, like there was one woman who she was like, "What's all this going on?" She was walking her dog, and then I explained that it's a homage to George Michael and everyone continuing the fight for sexual freedom. She was like, "I love George. I used to see him around here all the time." And she got up on the mic and then she was like, "Thank you for what you're doing and carrying the torch of George Michael. Just want to say one thing, please make sure you pick up your sex litter." And I'm like, sex litter, what's that? But she meant condoms and lube and stuff. Fair enough, because we also believe in leave no trace and looking after the environment. Hasidic Jews, like I say, I have a lot of conversations with. This is my culture.
Well, with the last 5 minutes, I just want you to tell anyone watching or listening, this is my culture. You've mentioned a lot during the interview. What is this is my culture? Because it's your 9th year doing this.
Yeah. So George, rest in power, passed away on Christmas Day 2016. Obviously the irony with his song Last Christmas. What a ledge. And it's at first it was like an act of grief of like, what a legend. How do we honour him? His music, his unapologetic stance on sexual freedom, his space that he created for so many other people to own their queerness and their cruising curiosities and activities. We have amazing DJs, we have amazing performers, we have naked oil wrestling, and the last couple of years we've had a piñata. So it's very carnivalesque as well. We have a piñata which we all bash together, which is a symbol of someone or something who's been at the root of our persecution. First year we had Maggie Thatcher. First year we had a piñata, we had Maggie Thatcher because of Section 28 and plenty of other things and the attack on unions and workers' freedoms. Then we had Winston Churchill, if we're looking at the root cause of war and colonialism, if we're looking at intersectional queer freedom. And this year I'm not going to tell you who we've got, just come and bash it. Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and a real kind of like, it's healing, because it's a space that isn't monetized, that is about nature connection and about honouring the ancestors and building community. And, you know, a lot of people are like, who do I pay for a ticket? It's like, you don't have to pay anyone. This is our space. This is our culture, because that's what George said to the paparazzi when he was walking into the bushes. The paparazzi were like, what do you think you're doing? He was like, fuck off. This is my culture.
Yeah.
This is something to be proud of.
That was very interesting.
Was that right? Did we cover enough?
Yeah, it was fantastic.
Yay,
thank you.
Great.
I'm really thankful for your time, and I'm excited about This Is My Culture Party. I will definitely be there with or without a camera.
Okay, check it out. But don't like push yourself to your limits. But if you want to tell some you fancy them on the tube, you should do.
Well, I'll tell people on the tube that I fancy them more often.
Yeah,
and get on Sniffies and push myself.
You should do, babe. Anyone be lucky.
But Dan, thank you. Let's get you on your way back to
Glasgow for now.
Back to Glasgow.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you so much.